I think you probably know that my name is Rich Reed, but I'll tell you anyway. It's great to have so many of you here to join with the whole community of Spirit Journeys to celebrate 20 years of Spirit Journeys. And we're going to hear a little bit from Ian, and there's a little bit of video footage from the 2002 journey, which a number of people have been gracious enough to share with me. And then we've got some various other little bits of pieces of video. A number of people who've been very significant in Spirit Journeys have sent some video messages. There are two typed messages which are here from Chris Meaton and Anne Clues, and I'll pop them on the table down the back or outside later so you can read those. But basically we're here to celebrate, to reminisce, to recognise what Spirit Journeys has done individually but also as a community in supporting each of us and supporting our journey through this somewhat tumultuous life that we are enjoying. We might turn that music off over there in a minute. I don't know why it started. I turned it off. Martin's a Mac person. You can kill the music for me. Thanks. Mark, has anyone come in on the feed? Okay, so there are a number of people who are not here and who wanted to have a live feed. We've got it going finally after Mark and I laboured for many hours, but we are recording this, so hopefully they'll be able to get access that way. So, firstly I'd like to acknowledge the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation and pay our respects to their elders past, present and future, and acknowledge the contribution they've made to the culture and care of this land over many thousands of years. I'm also going to delve into a little passage from this book. This is from Celia Kemp, who's written this book, Into the Desert. And this is one of the reflections. I think it's worth just sharing as we start. A vast amount of time, a lifetime even, can be consumed by our efforts to appear worthwhile in the eyes of others. Michael Leunig says we mostly encounter a world that wants us to be pleasantly regular and presentable in some way or another. A stale default personality, in fact, but with an impressive gloss. And so we shrink or smooth or bend ourselves around to fit into what society says is successful. We're so habituated to this that we carry it into any prayer life that we might have. And Jesus was right onto this. He calls us away from the crushing pressure to be sufficiently attractive to others. He also asks us to come before God alone and in secret. When we let go of the appealing self, the appealing self we're desperately striving to portray and choose to spend time alone with God, we're in for a surprise. Richard Rohr says, people who empty themselves in the wilderness always meet a God who is greater than they would have dared to hope. Fasting is giving up something to open up a space in the hope that the space will be filled by God. Consider setting time aside each day when you're free. I love the quote from Richard Rohr, people who empty themselves in the wilderness always meet a God who is greater than they would have dared to hope. And I think going to the desert as part of a spirit journey is what we're doing. We're trying to empty ourselves to then have it filled by something different, something that we've perhaps lacked. And we recognise that as we journey. So with those words, let's start and reminisce and celebrate. I'm going to ask Ian Robinson to join me up here for the first few slides. Look at this young man. Hop on this side, mate.
Shut up.
So Ian, can you just briefly tell us what led you to make that decision to go to the desert?
Briefly, bullet point style. I had been really, really sick as a senior minister of a busy congregation, and it completely floored me. But sitting up in bed for a number of months, unable to go anywhere, quite depressed, my psyche, my soul numb. Many of you know what that's about. My body's certainly not working. Polyarthritis and other things. My mind, Margaret would bring me things to read, and if it was an article more than about 200 words, I couldn't finish it. But the pictures were good. Please bring me magazines with pictures. It went on for a long time. But my spirit was alive and well, and I started to kind of connect with the birds that would go by the window and the tree in the distance. And while this is happening with me, I'm going, what is this? What is this? Not the body, not the soul, not the mind, but the human spirit connecting with the Great Spirit. As I sit here, what is this? Skip a few steps. Decided after reading a book that I was going to go to the desert in my long service leave. The response from everybody was, what's wrong, Ian? Is this midlife crisis, Ian? Are you sort of experiencing some sort of trauma after your illness? Or no, I've discovered something about the presence of the Holy Spirit that I want to explore. And in the Bible, it's always been in the desert, so I want to go to the desert. Simple as that. Oh, well, everybody got very worried. So, curses be heaped upon the head of Howard Circum. He persuaded me to do it by motorcycle. And it was a fantastic adventure getting the motorbike. That's in the Flinders, that one on the left. So we head off on a motorbike. Part of the motivation on the motorbike was to help other people understand what on earth was going with me. I had to do it as the risky adventure of fundraiser journey. Though I must admit that was never really very big on my agenda. It was this pursuit of the living God with a bit of these other things as decoration. The bike was great. Suzuki GS 1000G.
How did it feel to be out there in the desert? I mean, was there a tangible thing that you can, a feeling, an emotion that comes to mind?
Two things. One is being scared. When the trucks went by, they just about threw me off the bike. And when the emus came by, they just about threw me off the bike. And so on. It just kept on going. But that immediate, out in the open contact with the air and where you were was fantastic. Very quickly were you, in all humility and vulnerability, attached to where you were. So we kind of went along the river valley I left from Sydney, but up to the Kosciuszko and then along the Murrumbidgee River, and then got to the fantastic irrigation areas of Mildura and then turned right. And you went from the river valley of green to barrenness as you went up one hill and out of the irrigation area. You were in the desert. It was extraordinary, dramatic impact.
Actually, we're going back here. You started talking about water then, irrigation and barren, and this is actually, this next little bit of video comes from the Mound Springs. And so let's have a listen to Ian theologising about what the Mound Spring does. Now I've lost my place. Hopefully.
Is this one not so salty, is it?
Yeah, it's not very salty. Go in the salty vacancy.
Yes, the one with the...
There's one over here, man. You got it?
Open recording. Up again.
Look out, the world is smoking. Run for your lives. No, can't drink it now.
Yeah, if you come out here, the colour in the sand is really pink, circling round. Can you tell me again?
Isn't this just like God? When all hope is dried up, water bubbles up from deep below.
Yes. Okay.
I have to ask you, who was the camera person here?
Yeah, Mad Max Incorporated. Gee, I haven't seen that before. In the centre of all of the great deserts, there's some kind of great water source. It's quite something. Like I said, that's how God does stuff, yeah.
Okay, so shortly after the Mound Springs, something happened.
Yeah, we headed north up the Unadata track and then crossed through William Creek and then crossed towards Coober Pedy, which is kind of like the halfway mark across the country from where I started. And I think, from memory, it was about 11 k's out of there in the setting sun. And I hit a pile of bull dust in the road and it flipped the bike over through 180.
The white limousine.
And I landed on the road that way and the bike came down
Coming up towards
right next to me, upside down and smashed. So the short version is that was the end of our, ride through all the 7 deserts on a motorcycle plan. It took 2 days to come to that realisation, but that's how it was. There we are. You can see that's it turned up the other way, and you can see the forks completely smashed. Turns out the subframe was also smashed. So that was the end of that.
So you basically went from this to this. Was that the dream shattered?
Yes, it was. Yeah, there's something about the radical adventure of the guy by his bike on the left there. Where I'm standing on the right with the smashed bike, I'm going, I reckon we can fix that. Adrenaline's still high. Anyway, we got someone to help us and realised we couldn't fix what was broken anywhere within a full day's drive. So loaded the forks, took the forks off, loaded them up, went to Port Augusta to the archangel of all welders, amazing skilled craftsman who welded the thing back together again. Then we got it, drove back to Coober Pedy, put it all back together again, it still wouldn't go straight. Anyway, at that point I'm trying to get it to what they call tune it, and it wouldn't go straight. So to go from into sandy, rough roads with a vehicle that wants to kill you, when it comes to wilderness expeditions, when in doubt, be cautious. It was the rule. So that's what I did. So we loaded the bike up on a truck and sent it to a workshop in Adelaide to see if they could fix it up. And we carried on in the support vehicles. I think by then there were 2. I think a couple of days later we joined with Marty. Where are you, Marty? There, he and Tiff were there in Warburton, and we continued up through the next desert. This was Great Victoria Desert, and the next desert is the Gibson Desert, then the Great Sandy Desert. So we continued up through there with me sitting inside behind a screen, which took me quite a number of days to accept, but I had to have some measure of acceptance of it before we decided to truck the thing out. But I'm kind of picking up the pieces of the dream all for several days.
But you did keep going, and we've got some more video, and I'll get you to take a seat and enjoy some reminiscing. So this is some sections of video from Peter Caldor's camera on this section between Warburton and Broome.
On a journey, that's it. This is the Heather Highway now, connecting with the gun barrel. Right, thanks,
the rest of the crew behind, 3 and 4.
Coming to the end of the Heather Highway, and we're going to hit the real and true gun barrel, I think, from what I can gather from the map. A few bumps on the way. Up we come, and there's a signpost. Straight ahead, there's a signpost. This is the gun barrel, and that sign says Wiluna, and it's 7:20. We have a potentially serious problem here. Andrew's car, they started smelling smoke, and there was actually a fire going on underneath it, which they're still putting out. So it's under control, but it's a question of what damage has been done.
It's very hot.
Yeah, well that's what happened. Is that tent on the side?
No, that's an old one.
Pete, to get some. Pete, you'll give us some footage.
We're going to have to work out how to get out. Thinking. Really serious rough here that he's trying to avoid. We're not fully out of trouble yet. I think he's got it there now. Well, it's campfire time, and it's a very tired bunch of campers sorting out cars and problems that aren't sort on it. We've got this car working without speedos or much of its electrics. Trailer's got a few problems, so we'll see what happens. Just trying to retrieve a billy cooking too hard. We've just stopped to sort out a power takeoff winch breakage and grime and the usual stuff, and here's someone who didn't quite make it. My joke was a little poorly timed. John seems to have broken a spring on top of everything here. To actually pull a spring off that vehicle that I took a photo of a second ago. Well, it's a couple of hours later now, and we think we might have managed to strap that Nissan spring onto the vehicle, and we might get an hour or two in before the end of the day. Just coming down now.
No, I'll relax, mate. I'm unwinding usually.
To a little mining venture.
We're in the Gibson Desert. In fact, we're about in the middle of the Gibson Desert. Just coming out of the Gibson Desert Nature Reserve, where we found the marvellous Lake Cohen. The grass is high from recent rains. We've been getting in our radiators and overheating, getting it caught around our gearboxes, and the car's caught fire, burned out some wires. The trailer's busted. It's stinking hot. We're having a great time.
Thanks, mate.
Great summary. Have to wonder though, did you ever think that the desert was saying, go away? Because we've sometimes felt that on other journeys when things have been going wrong. We think, as actually is the desert saying to us, you're not welcome? No. Clearly. So just to take it a little forward since 2002, soon after that, the first of the Spirit Journeys was conducted, and somewhere here, and maybe there's a number of them around, there's a list of the journeys that have been held from WA since that time. Over 30 journeys, over 200 people have been introduced to desert spirituality. We originally set up an organisation to support Ian called Tall's Trees Resource, and then when he moved to the eastern states, then we changed the name to Australian Desert Spirit Journeys. I'm now going to show you a number of testimonies that have come in from people who would love to have been here but can't be. And the first is from Anne Schooler.
Hi, this is a short note to say thanks to Ian and Marg and the other people on the Spirit Journeys for the Spirit Journeys over the last 20 years. For me, it's been a great experience. I've been involved in about 7 trips and they've widened my horizon in many different ways. They've helped me to grow spiritually and to gain confidence in being able to do some challenges that I never thought that I would be able to do. I've learned about 4-wheel driving, about being part of a team, and my spiritual journey has just been different. I've learned about what country means to me and about the desert. I just want to thank Ian and for the unique way of connecting with God in a different way in the desert. And I hope that the Spirit Journeys will continue. I see that they might be different, and I look forward to being involved in the Spirit Journeys in the future. So thank you, and I hope to see you all soon.
Hello, Spirit Journeys family. Congratulations, happy birthday, happy anniversary. All the celebrations are in order, and I think it's great that the community is doing this. Look, I have just come back from 3 weeks in Cape York, spending time on country with traditional owners, helping people have an encounter with the beautiful remote wilderness of Australia and its First Peoples. And the only reason I'm doing that now in 2022 is because many years ago now, I don't actually know the first year, but it could be more than 10. 10 years ago now, because of the generosity of the Spirit Journeys family and people who were involved at the time, I had my first opportunity to go out into the deserts of our country and spend time 4-wheel driving, camping. And I'm not sure if on that first journey we had a traditional owner travelling with us, but certainly in the subsequent years I spent time having my very first experiences of hearing those stories and partnering with those individuals as they shared their culture. And so I have to say that the Spirit Journeys as a team, as a family, as a group, as many journeys, opened a world to me that I really have never left, and it's become a big part of who I am, of my spirituality, of my identity, and of how I spend my time. I don't currently own a four-wheel drive, which is a hamstring in a way, but I found my way back out into the wilderness to spend that time for myself and with other people every year. Almost now probably for a decade, whether it's been with Spirit Journeys or with other organisations. So I'm very grateful for the creativity and the energy and generosity that's created those opportunities for me, and I know many other people. And I think there are a few things that were modelled for me in those early journeys that have sustained, and I could probably say more, but I'm just going to talk about a couple of them. The first thing that was really modelled for me was silence and letting the land speak and letting the land be the facilitator and letting that space do its incredible work on people's spirits and lives. And I still carry that with me in a lot of my work now, but particularly when I'm out there in the wilderness with groups. The second thing that was really modelled for me beautifully was respect for the journey, respect for the labour involved in preparing meals and doing the shopping, and to not rush those, respect for the vehicle, respect for safety, respect for having margin. So all of that respectful way of going out into the places that can be quite risky has, I think, also meant that a lot of my journeys have been very safe, and for not just myself but for the people I've travelled with, and a respect for the healing and the depth of work that can go on for people. So I've always been I guess primed to be very caring and thoughtful. You never know what is going on for people while they're out there. So that respect has really stayed with me, and so the silence and the space and the respect. And then I think the last thing I would say is the sense of abundance and generosity, that even though we're going out into desert or wild places, particularly the desert, all of the assumptions people make about what that's going to be like, how wonderfully wrong they are, and how abundant and full of life and full of generosity those environments can be. And even if the environment is testing, as many vehicles and many stories of breakdowns and challenges that you'll probably be celebrating at this party, as much as those challenges come up, the generosity of spirit between the community that you create and the relationships you create and the way people rally together is something that I found really striking in my early journeys, and I try and foster in myself as I approach the journey, but also with the groups that I work with. That generosity and abundance, and a first position that says that there is that abundance out there is something that's really stayed with me. So thank you, and thank you to all of those who've made the journeys possible, and it's a wonderful thing. It's become a huge part of my life, and I'm very grateful.
Hi Ian and Marg and everybody there. It's really great to be able to share this little note with you and just say thank you to you for your gift of reflections on desert spirituality. That became one of the centre points of Spirit Journeys. I have many, many happy memories of sitting around a fire and listening to reflections that invited a reframing of Australian history and a reframing of Australian Christianity, and I was really grateful for that, as well as all the many happy memories from every corner of this country shared with you. So Spirit Journeys has been a really good thing and has brought a lot of blessings to a lot of people, and thanks so much for your contribution to that. I'm really sorry I can't be there in person, but Sue and I are just wanting to wish you well at this time.
Hi. I just wanted to reflect on what spirit journeys, desert journeys have meant to me over the years. I think nature and camping has always been very important to me, and my faith was largely expressed in churches and mission and doing things to care for people and you know, Bible studies and things like that. But there was always something missing, and I think Desert Journeys was a wonderful bringing together of the whole of me, that I was able to celebrate in nature, sleeping on the ground under the stars, and explore the contemplative kind of way of being in the world, which has now become part of my life, and bringing in that idea of emptying oneself in the desert, and that idea of God being able to speak to us when we listen and listen deeply. That sort of Dadiri idea has profoundly, I think, for me, changed my whole way of being in the world, and it's now those desert journeys, as well as being wonderful memories, have helped me to integrate my faith in the whole of life, the whole of me, the whole of joy, and the whole of celebrating God's goodness in the world. And that now is encouraging me to pursue taking more care of this beautiful world at this time of challenge and climate change. And I see it as a profoundly missional and faithful thing to do. So it's great to have it all connected up by going on those fun times with everybody, and do it in community, and do it with so much enjoyment that our daughter ended up staying and living out there in the red dirt. And we have many, many good friends out there now. So I think Desert Journeys have had a very significant part to play in my life. Have a great celebration.
I think one of the things that's been most profound for me about wilderness and wild places has been the sense of getting perspective and feeling really small and finite in a really bigger landscape. And I had that as a really key experience in my younger days in the wildernesses of Tasmania. And I had the same experience out in the desert, and still do have the same experience of knowing our place. And I think that's been great for me to be able to do that in the desert, and for many people who couldn't get into the Tasmanian wilderness but who could nevertheless have that same sense of place out in the desert. So celebrate well. It's been a journey well taken and a wonderful experience for so many people, and savour the day. God bless to you and everyone that's there. Take care.
You've heard from Naomi Nash and Peter and Sue Caldor. The last video is from Sharon Andrews, and you're going to need to listen carefully. She's got her phone set so that when the wind blows it cuts her voice down. So just listen carefully because it disappears every now and again.
Hi all, it's Sharon. Just reflecting on my experience of spirit journeys. It's been an incredible experience that just keeps on going and going, inviting me to connect deeper with myself, to connect deeper with Source. And it's enabled me to feel more present and to allow the love to flow and to connect with all that is love in a different way. Spirit Journey was incredibly well organised, amazing food, amazing group of people, I had profound experiences of sleeping on the ground in my, I don't know what you call it now, I don't know, my bed, surrounded by beautiful wildflowers that had just popped out, and sleeping with the perfume of those flowers. And another profound experience was putting my ear to a tree, as suggested by a wise soul, and actually hearing the gurgle of the tree as a real living thing, as it was taking water up from the ground into every one of its cells. And I'm so grateful for everybody for Spirit Journey. It's been one of those big influences in my life. I love to you all. Thank you.
Here she is. Really want to encourage you, if you've never done this, when you go out to the desert and you get near a river gum or a gum, anywhere in a creek bed or near a water source, and especially in the warmer part of the day, actually listening for the tinkle of the fluid going up and down. For the first half a dozen times I was told to do this, I thought, this is absolute garbage. This is just my ear rustling against the tree or something. But I can tell you it's the most incredible thing to do. Things have changed a little bit since the 2002 journey, and it may reflect a little bit the age structure of our participants. We now carry a defibrillator. And recently we're carrying rat tests. Sat phones, actually I didn't include the picture, but Sue and Pete Caldor were talking on a sat phone back in 2002. It was a great big box on the ground with a cable coming up to an old sort of Bakelite handpiece, I think, and now it's just like a mobile phone. So things have changed a little bit, and we've got some really good GPSs which help us to keep on track. We've been really fortunate to have good vehicles which enable us to not have to tow trailers, and I think that was one of the big lessons from early on, that trailers are real, well, they're just they hamper your progress, and also it's so hard to know what's happening to the trailer. You can lose a tyre and not be aware of it at all, and by the time you stop, the whole drum and everything is just gone. And that's, nobody's fault, it's just that... So, just to finish this part of the presentation, Nancy Wilkinson put together a video of the 2021 journey, and I'd like to share that with you now.
The wood?
No, but I don't think you can ever get it.
Oh yeah, there you go. It's splitting.
I thought there's your monitor.
It's alive, thank goodness.
To carry the grandeur of an ancient land, to ride the plains of open spaces, to explore the contours of geographical import, to trace the contours of heart within, and find a mirror reflecting a desert not void of life, but brimming with the life of God's creation. A vastness that captures infinity in the crystals of a salt lake, trails of high-standing spinifex, iron red formations holding the secrets of ages. A sky that is a changing palette of colour and reforming cloud by days, and by nights a jewelled wonder, bright and mesmerising. To explore the contours of heart within and find a mirror reflecting a desert not void of life, but brimming with the life of God's creation.
Listening to what we were listening to. So just a couple of things. You'll notice that we have a toilet displayed just to help you understand that our toilet facilities are magnificent. And I want to pay credit to John Smales, that's Chris's son-in-law, who's done an enormous amount of fabrication for us. He's a motor mechanic, but you give him an idea and he just comes up with magnificent solutions. We haven't had anyone fall into the loo since we had this toilet. The other person, again, thank you. You noticed that at the end of that video we had a big crew of people cleaning up, and Chris has got a fantastic facility that we're able to use when we come back, and we just spread everything out. That was after a wet finish and we had a lot of work to do, but it just makes things so much easier when we get it all cleaned up and packed away very quickly. So, looking ahead, we've looked back, we're celebrating. I hope you've got something in your glass, because I'm going to ask you to toast Spirit Journeys in a minute, so we may need to have someone grab a bottle and bring it around if people need something for toasting Spirit Journeys in a minute. Thanks, Frank and Liz. We do need to look ahead. Many of us who've been involved in Spirit Journeys, like I am broaching 70, and I don't know how many more years I'm going to be able to do this. So we need to get younger people involved. And tomorrow, Jackie and Bruce Robinson are taking a group away for our first family spirit journey, and we're looking forward to that, reporting back from that and hearing how we can develop that a little bit further. We're also discussing with the new owners of Kura Desert Retreat Centre an ongoing relationship with them, which they're very keen on. Where we'll be able to run journeys that won't be all driving, they'll actually be based at Kura with accommodation, showers, etc., full kitchen, and it'll be day trips and exploring the wonderful area around Kura. So more information on that coming later. We also need to get some new leaders coming through. So if you know of anyone who might be passionate about this venture that we're on, please point them in the direction of the website. And there are lots of flyers out there which you can take a copy of to remind you of the website. There's Ian's book, This Thirsty Heart, out there, which you can also take a copy of today for a small fee. Just keep in touch with us through the website. And so, finally, thank you to all of you for coming and all people who've participated in Spirit Journeys over the last 20 years. And lots of people have had leadership roles. A number of them are here today. A number of them couldn't be here today. And there are many people who have contributed. And I'm looking around and seeing people like Ron Mutton that must have done about 10 journeys, I reckon. And he's. I remember particularly the time you did all 3 journeys in 2016. I think we went in that very wet journey across from Perth to Alice Springs and then out into the Simpson, and then you came back as well. I thought that was an amazing feat for anyone really. But thanks very much for that, Ron. And thank you to leaders from outside WA. So people like Naomi and Pete Caldor and Sue, who've also referred people to us over here. Those who contributed to our website design, and that's particularly Amy Robinson Springer, who did a lot of work for that. And anyone who's donated time and resources because they believed in what we do. But now, I hope you have something in your glass, and I'd like you to toast 20 years of Desert Spirit Journeys. We've still got a couple of people waiting. I think mine's empty as well. Never mind, I'll drain it. But not just the 20 years, but I also would like you to toast the source of inspiration of Spirit Journeys. Please give them a rousing cheer, and happy birthday, Spirit Journeys. That's all from me. There's another half an hour of drinks and food and reminiscing and connecting. I haven't had a chance to talk to many people because I was sweating on the live feed, but I think we managed to get it to work. See how we go. I don't know if anyone actually came in on the live feed, did they, Mark? Did you get in? No. So I know there were people like Pete and Sue Caldwell who were going to the Rugby League Grand Final, so they weren't going to be watching it. So, anyway, thank you to everyone and enjoy the rest of the evening. And please keep in touch with the organisation. Thank you.